We've got some news to talk about, so let's get into downloadable content. This morning, Blizzard released the latest cinematic trailer, we can call it that, for the upcoming World of Warcraft expansion, Shadowlands. Now, this animated short shows off a Sylvar as he protects his grove through a long drought, only to be forced to give it up for the greater good. He's pretty upset about that, too. Aaron, are you a WoW player? Are you ready to head to the Shadowlands?
To be honest, I'm not a WoW player, and it's not because I don't like it. It's more so because I grew up being a console gamer, so I never really got into WoW. But what I can say is I really do enjoy this cinematic approach, and it's something that we're seeing with so many different titles. Like even Overwatch has been doing, League has been doing it, and I think it's a great way to kind of bring people in who may not understand the world of WoW, but at least can like narratives or be kind of brought into this trailer and this cinematic approach. So I thought it was really interesting.
Jimmy, what's the buzz in your waiting for Shadowlands Final Fantasy 14 guild?
It's interesting because they've released, I think, 2 of these now, which are these little sort of vignettes of because you can sort of join up with some different groups in Shadowlands and you can fight for different covenants, I think is what they're called. So it's interesting to see them do this approach because they can't do a full-on CG Sylvanas versus Arthas fight every single time they release a trailer, but this gives us a little bit of taste of it. I think people are excited. They're also doing this thing where they're cutting the level cap, right? It used to be 120 to 130. They're actually breaking it back down, so they're having it. So now the full highest level is 60, and you'll get back down to 50. So it's interesting. They're trying to make it a little more accessible for players to get back into it. So I'm stoked to actually re-roll a new character.
Well, speaking of games that are arguably extremely accessible, or were, Fortnite patch 14.10 dropped this morning, and with it came a whole bunch of new Marvel-themed stuff, including a new location in Stark Industries, equipable Avengers powers, and some new enemies that turn into weapons. Because why not? Aaron, will you be wielding Thor's hammer once your workday is over? Are you worthy?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for it to come to me, but I think it's really cool just how Fortnite is just becoming such an anomaly in so many senses, right? Honestly, I'm not even surprised anymore. Anytime there is a top tier A-level, whether it's franchise or movie or anything like that, I'm just not surprised anymore. It's kind of like I'm desensitized to it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I mean, you know, it's just Fortnite at this point. But I think it's cool that they keep pushing and trying for different things, whether it's via this, whether it's incorporating a concert stage and just all these different elements that they're adding.
This is how you stay relevant. This is crazy.
It's super interesting because, as you point out, Aaron, if basically any other game on the market did a collaboration with Marvel, it's all anybody would be talking about.
Right.
But the fact that it's Fortnite and like this just happens all the time, we're like, oh, okay, cool.
We're gonna look back on this when we're old and being like, you guys remember Fortnite? What a time.
And I will say this in Epic's defense, like, for the longest time, in the early ages of PC gaming in the 90s and then early 2000s, they were ruling with Unreal. But then they kind of went quiet. They didn't have that flagship game. They became that engine, the Unreal Engine, and pushed that for such a long time. Now that they've made it back on top with the AAA, of course they're going to continue pumping it and keeping it relevant in the top so that we continue to feel like, yeah, you know, Fortnite's synonymous with our culture, our gaming culture. You know it, you love it.
Yeah. Fortnite is pop culture. Crazy.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, well, something that used to be pop culture, GameStops. And now GameStop has announced plans to close between 400 and 450 stores globally over the remainder of its fiscal year, the game retailer announced Wednesday. This follows a difficult year in 2020 for GameStop, as 388 stores have already been closed so far this year. Jimmy, what can GameStop do to stop the bleeding?
Turn them into an Airbnb like Blockbuster did. I mean, I think GameStop needs to just focus on its online and digital offerings, because here's the thing, like during the pandemic, it was amazing to just download a game to your whatever and not have to worry about going to a store, waiting in line, doing any of that business. And I think that's just the direction that we're trending, right? Everything's gonna be digital. If GameStop really wants to survive here, I think the physical locations, it's gonna be really tough. Maybe make a couple flagship ones, one in New York, one or whatever, but focus on making your online retail offerings the strongest it can be.
And on top of that, I have some friends who are ride or die pre-order from GameStop, go pick it up at midnight kind of people, and everything that they physically ordered from GameStop during the pandemic was delayed.
Oh,
So,
no.
I mean, GameStop was already in a tough position of, as you say, Jimmy, even before the pandemic, we were trending towards digital media. And like, I respect everybody that has this real like attachment to physical media. I am just not one of those people. I'm like, I got a 2 terabyte hard drive formatted for my PlayStation. I'll just put all my games on there, and then I don't have to worry about shipping costs.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, like another thing too is like, it's just about how we consume content, right?
Yeah.
And just not even consuming content, just how we interact with things in life. I mean, look, you can press a button to get food instantly. You can swipe right for a chance at love. Can't guarantee it for everyone, but everything is so easily accessible.
Really?
And so we're in this culture of like, maybe not love. I don't know. You know? But what I can say,
Chances
For a good
are-
time.
yeah, you know, it's 50-50. But at least for like everything else, like accessibility and having things quickly is kind of where everything is moving, and technology is advancing that. And so it's one of those situations where you either get with the program or you die off. And so GameStop's gonna have to get with the program.
Yep, absolutely. Very interesting. Okay, moving on. We got our first look at the retail packaging that the Xbox Series X will be shipped in when it launches on November 10th. And well, it's a picture of an Xbox on a box that contains an Xbox. I'd say box one more time, but there's really only 2 boxes and 1 image of a box here. Wait, that was 3 more times. Okay, Emma, how are you feeling about this box in a box with a box on it that contains an Xbox?
I mean, it sure is a box.
It's a box in a box.
In a box, in a box, in a box.
Xbox in a box, baby.
Yeah, I mean,
The perspective of this, by the way, really gives me the heebie-jeebies. I can't tell what's happening.
yeah, there are people that have a legitimate fear of stuff that has a bunch of holes in it.
Isn't
like
that the
this.
Yeah,
Crypto-
Tripta something.
Yeah, I am not one of
Phobia.
them, but I can only imagine. I don't know. It's a box with an Xbox in it. It's just,
Who keeps their boxes here? Hands up if you keep the box of the stuff that you
Do
buy.
I am always afraid that I'm going to move or
I just hug
like it's
it.
gonna break.
yeah.
Is it just me?
I
oh,
hug
no,
it.
it's me. All right, cool.
What's with the cheese grater style? I feel like that's like the in thing now too. Because didn't like Apple also has like that
Yes,
cheese
on their
grater
new
style
monitor
for
they
the
did,
computer?
yeah.
What is that? I mean, every time I look at it, it reminds me of Diddy and Maze's music video. But I don't understand why like that's the style for like a lot of the technology recently.
It's future tech, right? So I looked up a website. It was like hot hardware, where it covers all overheating hardware, and that style allows the right amount of airflow to come through because, again, it is a lot of power in that box that has to be quiet, so you can't have a loud fan because it was promised that it wouldn't be louder than the Xbox One. So one way to do it is put these perforated holes in there so that things don't overheat. Like overheating hardware, very important.
Oh no, KB
Yeah.
chips
Don't
in.
flip it sideways.
Oh, these chats.
KB in chat says, I break the box so my Xbox box can become an Xbox.
I swipe left so that my
Swipe.
Xbox can be an Xbox.
Oh man!
Army of Numbers
Hey,
says, I want to watch these
Stevie,
boxes
swipe
box
left.
other boxes.
No, this is enough box talk, you guys. 2020 is saved. Rick Moranis is back. Well, at least for one commercial. The ever-charming Ryan Reynolds somehow convinced the long-retired comedy legend to come on a commercial for mobile network Mint. Moranis also happens to hold an ownership stake in Mint, so take that as you will. Normally, we'd ask a question to one of the hosts, but we want to know from you, chat. Hit us up with your photoshops of Rick Moranis, wherever you'd like to see him walk next. And we'll reveal our favorites later on. So put Rick Moranis in the landscape of your dreams.
For those of you who don't know, Rick Moranis, after Ghostbusters, just kind of famously stopped really acting
Yeah.
and felt a little burnt out, but he's back now. He's one of the greatest comedic actors of all time.